Welcome back to episode 74 of the Grappling Growth podcast with me, Joe Testouri. On today's episode, I had the pleasure of welcoming on Neil Katz, who is the founder and managing director of Exceptional HR, a fractional HR company based in Dallas, Texas. On today's episode, Neil shared his wisdom of running his business, 20-person led HR fractional consultancy that goes in and looks at how they can strategically support companies. He gave me a really good compass on how to just best lead, how to provide as much value as possible to your clients, how to take such a personalized approach to make people feel special. It felt like turning a page in How to Win Friends and Influence People.
As entrepreneurs, we all experience challenges in our business journey. I'm Joe Testouri, and the Grappling Growth podcast is my attempt at documenting my entrepreneurial journey while building my brands. I sit down with fellow entrepreneurs, understanding how they grapple with growth. I hope you find value and enjoy.
Neil, pleasure to have you on the show today.
Joe, thank you so much. Look forward to speaking with you today.
Curious, what does growth look like in your world?
That's a great question. Growth is not straight and it's not always upwards. I always hear the adage, it's a hockey stick. It's not. Growth is up and down. It takes time. It takes work. But growth is something for me and my organization that we're keenly focused on. We want to be a growth organization. We want to continue to provide these services and support companies and businesses so that they really can get back to what they love. And candidly, it's not generally the HR function.
And taking a step back, looking at it from a personal lens, how would you describe growth?
I think for me, growth is growing myself, growing my leadership, growing into becoming a CEO. It's the first time I've been a CEO of an organization. And growth isn't just about achieving a revenue target, a profit margin. Those are important factors. But growth is being a better person, a better husband, better father, and a better leader of my business and learning. To me, one of the areas I've learned so much on is how do I continue to acquire new knowledge and information to be a better leader today and into the future. And it's growth of me as an individual. And it's been a journey. And I've had some successes and some failures as well. And that's really important for me to continue that growth journey.
So for you, what do you do to maintain as much consistency as possible amongst all of those different lanes?
I think for me, it's making time. And one of the things I'm still working on is being present in the moment. When you're with somebody, be present in the moment you're at. Listen to them, pay attention to them, hear them, understand them, but be present in the moment. And it's hard. There's a lot of distractions in our lives, digitally speaking, and many of them. And for me, is how do I be present in the moment and be there as a good leader and as a good person and as a good partner for these clients and my teams and my family? It's easier said than done, but it's a journey to continue to be focused and be present with them at the moment.
So just so we have some context for the listeners, how would you describe your business to tell people what you do, just so they have a bit more context?
Thank you. I always forget to tell people a little bit about myself. I don't like talking about myself as much as I like talking. No, it's okay, Joe. I always like to talk about other people and get to know them and their experiences in their lives. So what we do is we're a fractional HR services firm, and we support small to medium-sized growing companies throughout the United States by taking on and managing their HR function for them so they can get back to their superpowers and their passions. And we'll manage everything from the beginning through the entire life cycle, through the end of the employee experience and the employee's journey within that organization. So for us, it's just allowing leaders to do what they're great at and then helping them. We want to be a sounding board and a partner to these leaders and these executives and these managers to really allow them to be the best who they can be. And candidly, they're operationally brilliant, but they need some support with the people side. And that's what we're here for.
So say I'm a small, medium-sized business in the United States. I'm putting you guys there, and I'm putting small HR team there that I'm actually going to bake into the company. What would be my real benefit to say, hey, actually, I want to go for a fractional team. I want to go for these guys who are specialists there, as opposed to bringing in a head of HR, or a small team?
And the reality is, what I tell people, you don't need a HR team in-house in many cases. And what we do is we're the supplement to that, because here's the difference. You're going to hire an individual or two with 5 to 10 years of experience, probably pay them a fair amount of money. And remember, when you have somebody that works for you, there's downtime, there's up times, there's times that things need to get done. But there's breaks in that time. For us, when you hire a fractionalized services firm, you're paying us for the time we're working, the results we're getting, the outcomes we deliver. And we can do it on the fraction of the basis and a fraction of the time. And coupled with that is my team alone has 450 years combined experience. You can't hire a single person with 450 years combined experience. There's nothing you're going to put across our table in any industry we can't support you with.
And for you, do you have a sweet spot with regards to headcount where you like to get involved with teams? And do you have certain industries that you really flourish in?
So, headcount, we generally support companies as small as five all the way up to 500. And then anything past 500 will become strategic advisors and partners for those groups. And then industries, no, because the reality is industries, functionally speaking, are similar for us. It's people. And we manage people, we support people. So it doesn't matter whether you're a law firm, a healthcare provider, or an e-commerce distribution company. It doesn't matter for us. People are still people, and we support those operations. I think we have 14, 15 different industries we're in today. And I suspect in the next 2 years, we'll be in upwards of 30 different industries, because we can take our model and replicate it across any industry in America.
Of course. So I remember when we spoke, was it 2 weeks ago now? Time's just absolutely flying by. You said you had the objective of 3xing the business in the next 12 to 24 months. What does that look like? You mentioned you're looking at going to other maybe adjacent horizontal markets, but what does the growth trajectory and strategy look like to expand the business?
I think for me, the key is there's a couple pronged approach. One of the things I've learned in the last 4 years, and I've been doing this 18 years, but 4 years full time. What I've learned is one, achieving a 3x growth year over year is exponentially more challenging every year. And we're in that, I think this is our fourth year where we're really focused on that 3x growth. To get there, what is it going to take? It's going to take a lot of networking, engagement, outreach, development of the referral programs, really finding people that are connected to other individuals that need it. And one of the things that I've spent a lot of time on last year and into this year, and as of recently as yesterday, is recognizing when it comes to a business of service, clients, potential clients look at people they trust and value. So the question is, how do I produce and create trust with people I don't know? And that's really in a phenomenal referral network. I have a great network of people I work with that I refer them, they refer to me. We support each other in our journey. And that's going to be a key component to offering our services to people and provide that 3x growth. And there's so many companies out there. I can't tell you how many times I talk to a partner that's adjacent to us that we're talking through and like, oh my gosh, this client needs HR support. I'm like, we're here. Let us help. We'll help you. We'll support them. We'll get them there, but we can achieve that success for them. So it's really about the network and then just outreach. And the last part of it is we're working very hard this year to really educate and share information with our network, generally in social media, LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube video shorts, X, whatever it may be. We want to educate our clients because what we realize is they're so busy. If I can give them a 30-second, 1 minute video information content, podcast recording, and provide them snippets of information of value to them where they can learn and grow and support their business, that's building that foundation of trust for these future potential clients for us.
So much so, I was talking to a client last week, actually, 2 calls, and we spoke about our the sales funnels, the systems that we implement into businesses. We don't focus on funnels anymore. We focus on flywheels, because we know that for every zero you add on to the lifetime value of a deal, you extend generally how long it takes for the sales cycle to happen, which means if you try to funnel people consistently, it rarely ever works. Whereas if you have a flywheel, which the difference is you've got a multi-layered approach, a multi-channeled uh, way of engaging with your prospects. So you're using LinkedIn, email, short form YouTubes. You've got all of these micro pieces of content that you can gather from macro content, like as you mentioned, podcast recordings or uh, behind the scenes conversations you're having with the team, or you're showing or sharing case studies of success projects. These are pieces of content that slowly are bringing that person in line with your ideology, your methodology, your way of thinking. And I think more and more companies are going to be shifting over to this. The small, medium-sized businesses, they're going to start acknowledging this as opposed to, oh, let's look at direct response. We contact people, the lead dies off. You basically close that door. If you kept every single door revolving, then of course not everyone's going to convert, but there's a large majority of people who have that touch point from 18, 24 months ago. And you can get super personalized by sending Christmas cards or, I mean, we know
Mhm.
all of the tactics there, but these are just real soft engagement points as time goes on.
Well, and Joe, spot on. I mean, that's where we're going at this from an education information standpoint. The ability for a founder, CEO, executive leader of these small to medium sized businesses to have the access to all the information they need is nearly impossible for them to search for it. But if I can provide that in a funneled format, in a snippet world where we can continue to feed them information of value, not just a sales pitch, but of value feedback, what they're going to recognize is when they have the need, and they will, they know who to reach out to because they continue to see our information, our names, and we're there to support them. We're not there to sell. I was talking to a group, I think it was last week or yesterday. I don't remember which week it was. As you said, the weeks are blurring together, but I don't go out to sell. I go out to hear and understand and support you. And I truly mean that. I've had multiple calls with people where, look, you might not have a need for my services. That's totally fine. What can I do to help? How can I support you? What information do you need to make your job slightly better and easier so you can focus on your growth, your current team, your clients, your margins, the things that are going to drive your business? Let us help you with the people function. We're good at this, and we're very good at it.
hmm I had a conversation with a VP of a Japanese bank last week. I won't name the bank, but she mentioned to me some really good insight that uh, someone who started their own HR recruitment company contacted them. She thought, okay, we used to work together at XYZ company. I'll entertain the conversation. So she thought they were being pleasant, and it was more of, oh, so you're in charge here. Can we get our foot in the door? And she just said because the intentions, the way how those people came across as slimy, she would never do business with them. And
Mhm.
as we were talking, a question was posed of, uh, would you give business and the work to the guy who got you into this company? And she said, absolutely 100%. Because when 1,000 applications came in and I got this job and they were batting for me, I'm going to remember that. And this comes back to the notion of people truly remember the way how you make them feel. They remember, if you remember
That's
small idiosyncrasies of your conversations, which are personalized, which is, hey, I remember 2 weeks ago you mentioned this, or how did your son's baseball game go? Or how did his football match go? These small details really make a difference. And as you said, it's not the case of, hey, I might not have the solution for you right now, and that's fine. But there might be something in 12 months' time that you do or they need help from. The first person they're thinking of is Neil. He made me feel like this.
you value the person. It's not about the sale. And I was talking to a client and I had mentioned something. I'd met this client. Gosh, it's been a year or two ago. They were a client and they exited. We got them what they needed. We achieved the success and we exited. And met them recently for lunch. And I made a comment that this client had made to me. It was probably 18 months or longer ago. And the client looked at me like, you remember that? I'm like, absolutely. This was very important to you at that time. Has this changed and how can we support you? And just that sense of connecting and recalling the detail and recognizing that it was important to me, that it was important to him. And those are the things. And like you said, it's the nuanced things of I have somebody on my team who was out of town. And when he got back in town, we reconnected on something. And I said, hey, how was your weekend with this activity? And he's like, you heard this pause for about a second or two, like, wow, he remembered I was out of town for this. And I'm like, absolutely, it's important to me. People are important to me. The challenge is at some point you run out of capacity. So there's a balance here, and you just got to stay focused. And again, I'll go back to what I said earlier. Focus on the person and the people you're speaking with at the moment. Don't try to remember every single thing about every single person. Focus on the person at the moment and recognizing and engage in that conversation. You'll have wildly great success.
I'll share a story with you. Maybe this is a bit of clout elevation on my behalf, but I think it adds good context for what we're talking about. A couple of years ago, uh, a girl on our team, we sat down and we were talking, and she was looking at pursuing her prior interests. So she used to horse ride. So, anyways, we had this conversation, and she mentioned it. She just said she hadn't got background to it. So, what I did, I worked out, well, I knew where she lived, obviously, and then I looked at the horse stables nearby, and I thought, okay, which one could it be? And I, as a lie, I was like, oh, intriguing. I'm thinking about going for a horse riding session. What do you recommend? I was like, oh, what's the name of your one? I just want to look at it on Instagram. So she told me the name, so I had it there, and then I called them up and I paid for her first lesson back. So when she went back next time, she went to pay. They were like, "Oh no, this session's already been paid for," and she saw my name there. And it's those small, they're
Mhm.
kind of like sprinkling breadcrumbs. They're such small investments, and it would have been that for me as an activity is supremely cheaper than giving her a pay rise, which I'm sure she would have loved, or sending her something that is irrelevant to her. But the fact that I took the time to listen to what her interest was, to then push her into something, it just shows such a high degree of. It's kind of the case of Christmas. You get the kids money, it's one thing, but if you take that time to actually make that thought, that's what people care about. That's what's going to be remembered.
It's the small gestures that make the difference. It's funny, Joe, you bring up your example. I had a situation a while back with an employee who has a coffee shop. She never told me which one it was, but she told me it was by her house. And one day I tried the same thing and it worked. I said to her, hey, I'm going to be over in your area. What was that coffee shop you were telling me about? Because I want to go there because I need a place to work for a couple hours. So she tells me the name and same thing. I wanted to get her a gift card there. Problem was this coffee shop's a small place. They don't have gift cards. So I sent her a gift, but in the note it said, please use this for the mock gift card for this organization. And she's like, you remember? I said, of course, because you talk about it like it's your second home. And I just, again, those are the little gestures that just, and it took me a minute, two, maybe three to do all of that work. And it was not much, if any, work, but the value and impact for that individual, the support we were able to give her, and really the personalization of recognizing her and her needs were important.
Such a strong point. Are you are you a fan of reading?
So, candidly, some. I don't have as much time as I want. One of my goals I still haven't outlined yet is I want to figure out if I could put 30 minutes a day into reading. Not sure it's going to happen, but I love podcasting. And I'm not saying that because I'm being interviewed by you. I truly listen to podcasts every day I'm in the car. Anywhere I go, all I do is listen to podcasts. It's a faster, easier way to absorb knowledge and information than it is to sit down and have reading and take time away from something else. So I'm maximizing my time through podcasting.
What are a few podcasts you have in your go to library list?
The ones and the one that I remember that comes to there's two. One is 20 VC. It's a gentleman out of England. He's phenomenal. And it's taught me the entire world of venture capital. And what's fascinating is it's not just venture capital, but it's about people and it's about running organizations. And what's funny is I'm not even sure he's actually recognized, but as an HR practitioner, probably 70% of his topic is around people and people strategies and people objectives because it's what it takes to run a business. So it's one of my favorites. The second one is, I think it's called, if I remember right, How Leaders Lead by David Novak. He's the former chairman and CEO of Frito-Lay Company and Pepsi. I'm sorry, Yum Brands, excuse me, Yum Brands. And brilliant. And he interviews an executive or leader of another organization every week. And just his style and approach is just very engaging. There's a couple others, but those are probably my two favorites so far. But I probably have 15. And almost every time I meet somebody, somebody introduces me to a new one. So I have more than I could do with, and I'm still always looking for new ones.
Yeah, I mean, when we spoke about my first million before this podcast started, so that's another one. That's one that I've been listening to on my dog walks frequently, and it's I love a good podcast where it feels like you could just eat popcorn and the next track spins
Right.
over. It's something new. There's vibrancy. So there's yeah. I mean, the world of podcasting is incredible. Done right, but great to get those recommendations there. I'm curious, Neil. I mean, you're maybe a few years older than me. Let's just say, what advice would you give to 20-year-old Neil?
Take the risk, do what you believe, and recognize what is potential of true failure. And what I mean by that is, and I'll never forget this, and I share this story probably on almost every podcast I do. I was at the edge of the cliff of whether I should start this business full time or continue the business full time or just stay doing it on the side as a hustle. And I looked over the cliff and all I saw is complete darkness.
Mm-hmm.
You couldn't see anything at all. And two things came up. One, felt a small nudge in the lower part of my back, and it was my wife. And she's like, just do it. What's the worst thing that can happen to you? And then she said, what's the worst thing that realistically can happen to you? She says, let's go down the path and say you fail completely and you have to shut down the business. Then what? I said, well, I'm going to go get another job. I'm going to work hard. I'm going to work my way back to where I want to be. She goes, that's my point. You're not just going to sit there. Yes, you might have a week or two that you're not happy and you might regret that you failed, but you're not going to stop. So I think what I tell, if I would go back and tell my 20-year-old self something, do it. Stop. Don't let fear stop you from achieving what could be and will be amazing success. And look, success isn't always straightforward. Sometimes you have to struggle and challenge. But what I've learned is recognize that struggle and challenge is what gets you to that next level.
Do you have any regret with regards to taking the business full time only 4 years ago?
You know, it's funny that you asked it. You're the first person ever asked that question that way. And what's interesting about that, Joe, is no. And the reason why is I'm not sure I'd be this successful today if I would have done it sooner. I didn't have the experiences, the successes, the challenges, the failures I had in corporate America. And to that point, I think it was the right time. But I will tell you, I was a 50-plus-year-old person when I started this business full time. And we all know, 50-year-olds are not known to be entrepreneurial to start a business. I'm excited I did it. I think it's the best thing I've ever done. And candidly, assuming I can continue this, and I will, I'm going to continue to grow and scale and build this business because it's what I believe. And it doesn't matter what age you are, as long as you have the passion, the desire, and the willingness to work crazy amount of time, you'll be fine. It'll work. It always does.
It's interesting how many people go from working corporate jobs where they've got their pretty much guaranteed salary of 50, 80, $100,000. They work their asses off there. They're putting the time in. And then when it comes down to doing it with their own business, they don't put the same effort, sacrifice in. And I think a lot of it comes down to they don't have that guaranteed upside. And that's it's the golden handcuff, isn't it? It's you're in a job where the pay is good enough where it gives you a comfortable enough life. It's not, for most parts, it's not an exceptional lifestyle. It's not the lifestyle you want, but it's good enough where you don't have to worry about paycheck to paycheck living and uh, things being paid for. Whereas most of the time, unless you're really savvy, you're building your business on the side and you've done something clever, you've got some guaranteed contracts in, retainers in, you've put a licensing model in place where that's all facilitated for you. So then when you do make the transition over, you're on a starting base. And I think that's probably, if I was to give any advice to anyone who's looking to make that big transition, it's try to give yourself that run rate, that buffer. Look at the bigger picture vision and opportunities that you're looking for. And another thing, a point that I heard is the time, effort, and sacrifice that's required to run a small business or a business that's only capped at making maybe $10,000-$15,000 per month versus $150,000. And there, you're not spending any more time. You can still spend 12, 15 hours, but it's really looking at the opportunity that you're working on is going to address how far, how big you can take the business.
Mhm. Yeah, Joe, big misnomer. Working and running and building your own business is not easier. I can tell you, I've worked more hours today than I've ever worked in my entire career. And I worked hard in my career. I'm going to tell you that I worked very hard in my career. But I'm going to tell you, I worked more days, times, and hours than I've ever worked. And it's funny, people say if you love what you do, it's not work. It is work. Okay. Let's just call it what it is. It's work. I love it. I love what I do. But I tell people all the time, are you sure you're ready to do this? Because it is not a commitment that is Monday through Thursday, 10 to 2. You can make it that, and some people are successful, but generically speaking, it's not going to happen. You're talking 8, 10, 12, 14-hour days, 5, 6, 7 days a week. And to achieve success of whatever success is deemed for you, it takes time and effort. It is not something that happens overnight. You can read all the stories you want on social media about so and so who built a business in 3 months and it's generating $3 million a year. There are those exceptions, but I truly mean they're exceptions. That's one in a million. What they don't discuss is the other 999, all the nines afterwards of the people that did not achieve that growth. It takes time and effort and work. And I would tell people, know what you're getting in for, know what you're signing up for, and give it everything you've got because that's what it takes. And at some point, if you're successful, you might be able to pull back a little bit. Reality, I'm 4 years in. We're about to go into our fifth year next year. I haven't pulled back yet. In fact, I'm probably still working as much, if not more, than when I went full time 4 years ago.
What the point you made about that the business that explodes in 3 months and is worth X amount in valuation, it's normally typically the innovator. It's the first mover in a market. If you look at ChatGPT in the AI space, I don't know the numbers, but it's easily doing billions in revenue. Its adoption rate. I know that ChatGPT owns 75% of the AI market already, but it's only the Uber that comes out, these businesses that are the first in their space. And typically, your business, my business, you're not the first person to do fractional HR solutions. You've come into a
Right.
market where it's probably a red ocean, but you're trying to position us, or most of us are trying to position ourselves as though we're in a blue ocean with sophistication of language, of product innovation and offerings. And I think a lot of the time people are looking for the next big innovation because they're looking for that quick win. But a lot of the time is there's opportunities and gaps within markets where there might be a need for a local gym because there isn't a gym for another 2 kilometers. And that's your opportunity. That's good enough for that market and it will serve a certain geography. And it depends on how far, how big you want to go to because you've got gyms that turn into chains and franchises. And that's how they look at their growth strategy.
Yeah, I think the key here is find, and you said it, Joe, find the niche. What is that unique, slight, just hairline niche? Expose the niche, build a business around it, scale a business around it. And the reality is you're going to be wildly successful. It's if you chase what everybody else is chasing, you're one of 1,000, one of 1,000,000, whatever that number may be. You might carve out a little bit of a segment. But the reality is there's underserved segments of our market still today. And by the way, at times, what you started won't be where you end it. I can tell you where we are today, 4 years later, is nothing like when we first started. I'll look at memos and information and even logos. Everything changes over time. And a good business evolves with the needs of the business and its clients. And I can tell you, even today, we've shifted some of our strategies and our approaches and our models because it's the right thing for the business. And that's the key is you can't it's funny if you dig into other organizations and say what was day one at XYZ company, it wasn't what you see today. And most even larger organizations, you look at where they started, they're not where they are today. They're vastly different.
So, speaking of such, what's been the biggest pivot within the business you've experienced over the last 4 years?
Probably two things. One, recognizing that the need of the client has evolved and changed. The market conditions in the United States have changed quite a bit. Um, a fair amount of uncertainty at this time. And with uncertainty, people pause and evaluate where their spends, where they're putting their extra resources and time. So for us, we had a pivot in the market, and the market conditions have pivoted. And the key is I could wait, or I could pivot with it, or get ahead of it. And we're trying to stay ahead of it. And then the other big shift we're really starting to see, and you just mentioned a minute ago, AI. AI is going to have a tremendous, huge impact on the workplace, employees, companies, operations. So much so, we don't even know how much impact it's going to have. There's two options, three: run with it, stand there and watch it, or number three, don't do anything. Last option's not your best. Some people are watching on the sidelines and evaluating and playing a little bit. We've made the decision we're going to go, I don't want to say all in, we're going to go in as much as it's appropriate, but we're going to find ways to automate and utilize that technology to make our jobs, and more importantly, our clients' jobs and their functions more effective so we can truly bring additional value. But you got to embrace technology. It's here. You can't put the genie back in the bottle on AI. That's over. How do you embrace it and use that? So that's probably one of the biggest shifts we're starting to see. And I would tell you, if we did another call in 2 years, I can't even imagine where this is going to be.
Yeah, in computer science, they say that 50% of the technologies used today will become obsolete in 2 years' time. And I think that's going to be expedited with artificial intelligence. So, talking about your tech stack right now, what does that look like with regards to your growth? How are you using AI and technology to help the business grow and hit that 3x projection that you're setting for the next 12 months?
I think for us, what we do is we look at technology as a tool to help our clients. So what we'll do as part of our assessment is to go in and evaluate their current tech stacks that they're using individually in each client. If a client doesn't have a tech stack or has a light one, we try to bring in new softwares and new add-ons to make their jobs easier, more effective, more efficient. Our goal is try to reduce their time and spend anywhere from 10 to 30% per client. So we don't personally have a tech stack ourselves. We use softwares of HR platforms and systems. But here's the thing, Joe, I'll tell you time and time and time again. I can't tell you how many companies we've gone into and looked at their tech stack, and we find anywhere from 1 to 5 modules that they're paying for today, they've never even used.
Mm-hmm.
And we're like, we can automate this. Like, well, what's the cost? Their time. Like, well, what's the provider going to charge us? You're paying for it already. What? Multiple clients. And then part of it is there's great extensions and add-ons and apps these days we can bring into companies at a very nominal fee to expedite and improve processes, workflows, systems, security, safety, things of that nature to make things better. It's just getting leaders and organizations to adopt the technological challenges they think that are out there and just embrace it. But I'm going to tell you, our goal is to 10 to 30% reduction of work by using better and current technologies, not just today, but into the future as well.
Yeah, I think that we're in this world where people are always looking at new. Whereas if we assessed and we looked at how efficient we were with nearly everything in our business, sure, if we were critical and we did a monthly or quarterly audit where we sat down by ourselves with our team and said, okay, how well did we actually maximize and use everything we had at our disposal? An easy example could be looking at how much food waste you have at the end of the month. How much food did you throw away? What is left in the fridge? How many times did you buy a takeaway? How many times did you go to a restaurant? That is such an easy example you could do within your own home to say, actually, I'm not being the most efficient I can be. If you've got stuff that's being wasted, and if you think about how much wastage there is in a company, this compounds. If you're wasting 5%, what would happen if you flipped that and you were not 5% worse off, but you were 10% better off overall? That, as time goes on, that compounds within your business. And I try to routinely gutter out the tools, the tech stacks that we pay for, even if something's $97 a month. In a year, that's $1,200. And then you look at, is this happening across the board? And unfortunately, this is also the case with employees, team members. You survey and you assess: is this person hitting their potential, and is this a me problem? Is this a process problem, or is this purely down to the fact that they have no interest in what they're doing? So, just looking at the AI piece again, I think I kind of asked it, but I wasn't very clear. When you mention using AI and automation, I know that you do a lot of content production. Is there an avenue that you're looking at as to how artificial intelligence can amplify the volume here or the quality?
The short answer is yes to all of that. And what I mean by that is the only limits I'm seeing today regarding AI, whether it be Chat or Gemini or Perplexity or one of those, is our imagination.
Mm-hmm.
It can do so much. We are looking at it, how do we improve and grow the content? And I don't mean fake content, I mean of value content. We want to get to the point where AI can produce and send to you specific content to your company, your industries, and your locations. So when you are looking at it and you receive something, it's not just here's a list of 10 things you want to know about HR. Here's a list of 10 things you want to know about your company, your industry, and your people in these geographies that you serve. That's specific, and we'll continue to narrow it down. But AI is going to be a tool to do most, if not all of that for us, because there's no reason for me to pay a human to do that when automation is the way to do that and get a quicker, faster, better response. And I had somebody go, well, are you trying to do this without humans? No, but I want humans to be that tool for us to interact and engage with leaders in the soft skills, coaching, development, communications. Not that AI won't get there in time. It's not there for that yet. So let's use AI for automation, systems, workflows, improvements, tactical work, and then let's take the talent and put them to work in the one-on-one interactions, engagements, and support of our clients at that next level. And that's really where we see AI going for us.
Yeah, appreciate your time. Where can people find you, and what's next?
Joe, the two things I would say is feel free to reach out to me on my website, exceptionalhrsolutions.com. I'm sure you'll put it in the show notes. And then LinkedIn. Love LinkedIn. I'm on there usually 3 to 4 times a day. Drop me a message, send me a note, comment on something we post. Would love to engage with you. If you have any questions, anybody, just reach out. We love a good conversation, and we're always going to be willing to support and help any way we can.
Appreciate you, Neil.
Thanks, Joe.